right, welcome to the Recruiter Startup Podcast. He's made it at last. Australia's number one construction recruiter, Mr. Rob Wills. How are you, sir?
Great, thank you. I'm better for seeing you. Thanks for having me on.
Good to have you. So, Rob, one of many British recruiters in Australia. How do you stand out there when every second voice is a good English accent?
Oh yeah, it's hard really because every time you pick up the phone, the age-old question is, another English recruiter, and I just say we're the best, and leave it at that. I can't really do much more than that.
So I suppose we're going to get into a few things today. Rob did our mastermind. He's been listening to the podcast over the years. We've been in touch. I think it's fair to say you're into recruitment. Like you love the craft of it. You love the detail. You're a student of it, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I love recruitment. I love picking up new clients, showing them what we can do. The fact that someone can be living 10 minutes around the corner that is a perfect fit for the role that they didn't know about, and vice versa for the candidate as well, and helping them grow. It's something I love doing and passionate about, and even more so now, like starting up Forefront and developing that, and developing our own stuff.
So talk to me about your life. It's quite idyllic from the outside looking in. I remember when we started doing the mastermind, you're like, oh, we were all like in winter and it was cold and it was like, and you're there in the sunshine, it's your beautiful house beside this beach. Like, what make us all a little sick for a second.
It was funny today, actually. I was on the phone to a candidate, and they asked where we're based, and I said, look, we're based in the Mornington Peninsula. So for people that don't know, it's probably one of the nicest areas to live in Victoria, and there's some beautiful parts of Victoria. So it's down the coast. But yeah, looking from the outside, it looks glamorous, but believe me, it's not. It's hard work. You don't want to foul. You got to get up every day and give 110%. And that's what I've learned, maybe more so even the last 4 or 5 years, is that you can, in recruitment, you get what you put out of it, and that's what I love. You put the effort in, and you're rewarded.
So talk to me about how you ended up in Australia.
Yeah, so I think, like, looking back at my career, when I worked in recruitment in London, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it, but I don't love it like I do now. I was probably pretty average, still a young lad, not quite worked out what I wanted to do, fell into recruitment. And then my parents moved to Australia before me. They were teachers, so to get their visa, they had to teach rurally. And I heard great things about it. I didn't want to go. I was part of their visa plan. Didn't want to go. Young, 20, living in London, living the high life with my friends, and thought, I don't want to go to Australia. And then I think like the GFC hit, and it was just kind of, I'd seen like jobs in Dubai when they first started coming out. Yeah. I think Robin Clark placed me a rec to rec, and he got me the position at Hayes, and I came to Melbourne. And as I was coming, my parents crossed over and were moving back to England. Yeah. So like we literally crossed at the same time.
No way.
Yeah. So I had an opportunity to go to Dubai. Had a few opportunities to come to Melbourne.
Yeah. What year was that?
2011, May 2011.
Oh, cool.
So,
yeah. All right. We would have both been in Scientology back then with big recruitment firms.
Yeah. So came and joined Hayes, and like everyone, had the 2 Zoom interviews, wore my full suit in the Zoom interviews, and struck it off with the guy that first interviewed me. Later went on for him to kind of start a business, and he headhunted me and went to work with him. 5 years later. So that's how
what business was that?
Protech. So they're more in that contracting space.
Yeah.
And I went across to set up part of their perm division and run some of their contracting. And it was a great leveler, really, because you at Hayes, a lot's done for you, all the back end, the credit control, accounts, everything. And starting out at Protech, literally had nothing. It was kind of going back to basics, which I loved, and I knew that anyway. But started to develop the perm division there, and I just kind of thought to myself, what, I can probably do this myself. And it was always in the back of my mind. It was a great place to work, and made some great relationships there, and still keep in contact with a lot of the staff. But I just kind of started listening to podcasts. I think I was listening to Roy Ripper, and then started listening to yours, which was a bit more you're starting off very corporate, then you started getting to like a lot more startups.
Yeah.
It kind of gave me the beliefs, thinking, well, these guys are doing it, I can do this. And it was a small window of opportunity to set up Forefront, and I took it, and I guess it was a bit of a gamble, a roll of the dice, but you have to gamble.
And you do a bit of other stuff as well, right? Talk about the football agent stuff.
Yeah, so always love football. Like my step granddad was a commercial director at Wimbledon Football Club, so grew up around football. My dad's an avid Arsenal fan. You can probably just see behind me here a picture of Thierry Henry's legs. So yeah, always involved in football. Kind of got to a stage here where I was I could no longer playing at an average level, but always interested in like the player agent and representation side. So during COVID, started to look at it a little bit more, had a little bit more spare time, because everyone did, and set up 28 Consulting, got my agent's license, represented 2 A-League players, still representing one of those players, and he's on the periphery of the squad at the moment. Just got his first pro deal. He's only in his early 20s, but will probably break through in the next 6 to 12 months. But one of the clubs I was dealing with, Brisbane Roar, ended up brokering a deal for them for a Japanese international, and it was pretty much just like working in recruitment, and those skills that I've learned over the years really led me in good stead. It was literally no different, but you're just dealing with footballers.
Rob, I'm getting a real man crush on you here. Living in the sun, living in the sunshine, making cash, football agent. Oh, you're breaking my heart here. The wind and rain of the south of England. It was interesting having you on the mastermind. I would say that you were probably the most advanced out of the group that we had, just in terms of how much study you'd done before you'd come in, and how much kind of where you were at and what you knew from a technical standpoint. So for us, it was more about like polishing certain things, but I know I was really forcing you to kind of get out of the independent mindset and get some people, because I could see that you were working like crazy hours, and unlike a lot of people, you don't mind managing people. So it was, why do you think it took you so long to go from independent to building a team?
There's a number of reasons, right? I think like when I set up in 2018, I just got, I had my wedding, and I wanted to be just a solo recruiter, and that was the idea. Okay, get some runs on the ball, because you never know really how it's going to go. I set up as a one-man band and thought, I can build. Very confident I could build and make money. Then had a good year. COVID started to hit, so that kind of reined me in a little bit, and I just kind of thought at the end of that, had success with even just in a short space of time with 28 Consulting, and then obviously with Forefront, thought, right, I really want to have a massive 2021. So look, how can I get better? And I saw the course that you guys are running with Mastermind, and set myself a bit of a target, and thought, I want to build this business out, but I've got to prove to myself that I can do it. I don't want a consultant to walk in here and go, okay, what have you done in the last 2? I've just been billing small amounts. I wanted to lead from the front and walk the walk and talk the talk. So that was my plan for 2021. And then like doing the course as well was really, I knew maybe a little bit ahead, but just the things that you picked up from there, bouncing ideas off you, Charlotte, some of the other team members in there, kind of really helped with that.
Yeah, very good. I think you got a bit of success from your virtual assistants, part of it as well, right?
Yeah, and that goes back just to listening to different podcasts and what some of the smaller successful agencies have been doing. Like I listened to, I've probably listened to Rich Rosen's podcast maybe 6 or 7 times. Yeah, and that's one that really stands out to me. That I listened to your podcast, but I started listening to him and was thinking virtual assistant. I think that's where I first heard it, and them setting up his his call lists and scheduling for the next day. And yeah, look, I think got really lucky. The first virtual assistant or assistant that we took on was Feb, and yeah, she's been fantastic. Started off part-time for us, is now working full-time. So Brilliant. She pretty much does a lot of the back end for me, and the general, the heavy lifting on the administration side and some of our searches. And then we've got.
Can you go into the detail on that? Because you have a lot of tech and stuff happening in your business. You've a lot of good stuff happening. So what is it that the VA does to take like give you more time?
I think it's just more so like, say for instance, and it all depends on the type of role and the search we're working on. So if we're working on, an exclusive or an engagement fee or retained role, it's very different than working on a contingent role. So, how we'll set up our week is, we'll have a team meeting, and then the VAs are a part of that, and we'll brainstorm in terms of, okay, what candidates do we know, what other searches we've worked on, what candidates are passive, what candidates are we nurturing, and they will go away and look at, the candidates that we've spoken to over the last year, 2 years, who can we consider over the next week or 2 weeks, because the market's moving so quickly now, and obviously tech speed that up. So they'll do a lot of that front end. So we use obviously Luxo.
Shout out to Luxo, sponsor the podcast.
For a lot of our process. Yeah. So they'll source the candidates, but I'm still mindful. I don't want them reaching out. They don't use me as an alias. If they do reach out, they'll use their own name. But I'm pedantic about those candidates that we're sourcing. We probably have 7-point process that we'll go through. But Feb and Demi, who's another full-time VA, they're very much part of that, and they're split up into roles. So we recruit contract administrators, project coordinators, site managers.
Where are they based, Rob?
Philippines. In the Philippines. Yeah.
Their English perfect.
Yeah. So Feb has worked overseas. He's worked in has a degree. Has worked in an American call center, and Demi is a very similar background. But yeah, English is very good. But like the market that we're in is very niche and incestual, I feel. So as soon as you pick up the phone to a candidate, you've got to know the clients that you're working with, their brands, and I don't have our VAs speaking on the front end or selling a role or briefing candidates. No, not yet. I don't. They'll do a lot of our reaching out via email, but everything from meeting candidates and talking, that's down to me. Obviously, we've just hired Britt and brought Britt on board. But I reckon with our database and lots of what we've got for an agency at our level, the way it's set up, tagged, listed, how clean it is, I don't think you'll find a better CRM that's probably has the right information in it, and that's down to just the front end work that Demi and Feb do. I think if they spoke to you and they said, how pedantic is Rob about the information we put in it, they'll probably roll their eyes, and I don't know, they'll probably say, I don't know if they'll say good or bad things, but that I'm pretty patient. But yeah, that's what's really been great about Luxo. The way that was set up really resonated with me. I love the lists and the tagging and the
Charlotte's all about that.
But even having it all in one place, you've got everything in one place. When we had, no disrespect to Job Ad, it was a good CRM, but you had all these add-ons that you were paying for. I just love having it all, all the outreach, the marketing, all in one place.
One of the things there that you said about that, so you have a morning meeting with your VAs. This is the big mistake people make. They think a VA is just somebody that you outsource stuff to, and you don't bring into your team meeting and educate and make them feel part of it. That's something that we've always tried to stress.
Yeah, even like recently we had Shane on the mastermind call. So Feb jumped on with Shane.
Was he fresh out of his plastic surgery?
I think he just had his teeth done. He's just been down in Melbourne. I was trying to find out why he was down there. I reckon he was having some work done, but he wouldn't tell me. He's
spending so much money now. He just like cosmetic surgery after cosmetic surgery.
Yeah, but like with Shane, Feb jumped on a call with Shane, and because he's obviously using Luxo.
Yeah,
did some training with his VA, and I mean, so like for us, we'll have like we use a Gmail platform, and we use chat constantly. There's not a day that goes by that I don't talk to them, and they're all constantly asking me questions. What do you think about this candidate? Have you reached out to this candidate? And look, very much in like Rich Rosen's style. I built every day. They're working on my call list. Okay, Rob, you've got these 20 candidates to call today. Don't speak to them. Okay, they roll over to the next day, and it's constant. A moving part.
Yeah. So Arena, who works for me, started off as a VA, and I had a nice watershed moment she isn't aware of, but it was a good moment for me. Yesterday, she called me up and started giving out because I was stealing all her good candidates. And I was like, oh, we've arrived. I've been waiting for you to shout at me about this for years. This is great.
Yeah. We had that with Fed today as well. So, it was just a bit of a question of where the candidate come from. So, they have bonuses, on what they source and find. So, I know the feeling. But
so Brooks joined this business where you've built it up. You got all your systems right.
Brittany.
Like we've worked with you on a lot of that stuff over 6 months. You've got your VAs and the engine room is working in the background. And her responsibility, what is it?
Yeah, so sorry, it's Brittany. Her name's Brittany. But yeah,
Brittany, sorry, I thought you Brooks. Sorry. Sorry,
okay.
Sorry.
It's funny actually. Everyone seems to get her name wrong. When she listens to this, she'll probably laugh.
Oh no.
Yeah. So yeah, I didn't want to take a lot of that front end away from her because I want her to learn and develop and understand the niches of Boolean searching and using LinkedIn Recruiter and some of the other platforms we use. However, but what's happened recently, we've got she's been hit the ground running. We've got a lot of opportunity out there. So let's say obviously we recruit for project-based stuff, job in the eastern suburbs. The VAs will go away, Feb and Demi will go away, and if we have a project between say 5 and 10 million, they'll come back with a list of candidates in that area with a 20k radius. Okay, this is who you've got to speak to, in the next couple of next 48 hours. So yes, they help with that, but I still want Brittany to get up to speed and understand the ethics of what goes in that front end piece and what it takes to be a good recruiter. And even more so now, like obviously you hear certain things, but the phone for us isn't there. That's a major part of our business, is being on the phones and understanding and meeting people, and getting on video calls.
What does the future hold? And I've always kind of asked you this. I've always kind of really pushed you on.
Yeah. I think I just want to. I don't think you can set in life. I don't think you can say this is going to happen. You have a good idea of where things are going. So I want to continue to be successful, continue to service our clients. I think that this next 6 months is important to get Brittany up and running into a certain level where we're comfortable for the next person to come on board. A lot of construction recruitment agencies will bring on new consultants in certain sectors, like you do fit out, you do refurb, you do fit out and refurb, you do multi-res, you do apartments, you do high end, you do volume. But we've done it the other way. So Brittany is just one position specific, which is site managers. So the next consultant we'll bring on board will look at project management or contract administration or a hybrid of both. And that will probably be in the second half of the financial year. We'll go into plan. Long term, probably. I was having a conversation actually with another business owner today, and we were talking about what's manageable and what's profitable. So I will probably look at 4 or 5 consultants and continuing construction, and maybe diversify a little bit. Maybe one of them might do contract, and the other 4 continue to do perm. But I don't want to go any bigger than that. That's probably where the business will sit. Because I think when you get to that, I don't know if you get to that 10, 15, 20 consultant stage, that's probably not where I want to go. I want this to be a vehicle for a good life.
Yeah. Well, I suppose you just see when you get there, right? When you get to the 4 mark, you put in different checks and balances, and maybe you have somebody running it and you're doing the next thing. You don't know where the game will evolve. So just in terms of the game, taking extra people into your business, even if it's a couple of virtual assistants and somebody you're training in to be a recruiter, it adds a bit more stress. It adds a bit more complexity. Are you enjoying it more?
Yeah, it hasn't. Nothing's changed. Like I feel like, Brittany's coming. I was a little bit wary over the Christmas break because she started in January, but I put together I think a pretty good induction. We've outsourced some of our front end training for Brittany, so she's on I think it's a 3-month course with another company that are helping out, which has been great in a different voice. But I'm in the office here. Brittany's here 2 to 3 days a week. we're constantly on video calls. There's constantly WhatsApp voice notes. She's in a part of another group where new consultants are training. So
that's a real valuable thing, eh? Anywhere where new consultants are trained. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And like I don't find it frustrating. It's all part of the journey. And look, if it doesn't work out, we'll learn from the mistakes, because that's the only way you learn in life, right? So, we'll go again. But no, I'm really enjoying it. It's great. It's been a fantastic journey so far, and it will continue to grow. But look, it's funny when you ask. I never really thought about it, but I think if you ask my wife, she'll probably sound a bit stressed at times. But no, it hasn't for me. Coming to the business day to day, you just got to think about things a little bit differently. And lucky enough, I've been in long enough and seen a lot of good operators and how they act to know what's right from wrong.
I think you go through I like to go through sprints in it. So I'm kind of like you. I don't want to have too many people to manage. And now I kind of have 4 areas. So that's one of our meeting. I just have the 4 people, and I get to kind of go through it and figure out what can I do to do better? What can we do to help you? And then what is the team beneath you, the resources and that, what can they do and what can marketing do? But I find you take people in, it's hard every time. So you have 3 months of pain. And then hopefully after that, you have this everything's bedded in. And then you do that for a bit and then you go again. And I
said that to Brittany actually, just, keep focused, because there's a lot of ups and downs.
Yeah.
And, recently, in a short space of time, offers are coming in, but, candidates haven't accepted, or we haven't been able to get to the right place. And we're still working on them now. But, I said, 3-6 months, you'll look back at this and we'll kind of laugh together. So
do you remember the recruitment dreams when you started? Did you get them when so I remember the recruitment dreams. It was I had such intense training at Walters that literally I had a lady called Jodie Gillespie that was just on me, just for the 10 hours a day every day. And it was from the moment I got in there, and I used to hear her voice, right? and then it just over time, it got a little. I reckon some of my staff hear my voice. I'm exactly like her, which is hilarious. Just before we finish up, Rob, any advice for any independents out there that are either starting up or by themselves, or just thinking of the journey that you've gone on?
Yeah, in terms of thinking about starting up, or someone that's a consultant in a business, I think I think there's a lot of fear out there. A lot of consultants get very comfortable, and that's just not in recruitment. That's in all business. I think I have probably done a lot of self-development, and there's so much. 5 years ago, or even maybe even a little bit longer than that, maybe 10 years ago, there wasn't information out there. If anyone wants to do something, I always say to my wife, if someone wants to do something, they'll do it. There's so much out there for you, free information now, podcasts. I'm listening to various podcasts, and they've constantly got leaders on there, and I take a snippet of information, or a little piece of something from those. But I think you got to, you only hear once, right? And you got to live your life to the max, and you'll look back in a few years' time, I think, Jesus, I should have started myself. So anyone out there that's thinking about it, start it. Get on the mastermind course.
That's what I was waiting for. That's what I was waiting for.
and then get on the podcast with Jilta. I mean, it's funny. It's surreal. It's surreal. Being honest, I went for a run before the podcast, driving back to the office, and I was thinking to myself, maybe 5 years ago, someone said, "Oh, you'll be running your own agency, and Jilta will be on the podcast with Jilta." I probably wouldn't have believed them. So. Yeah, no, a lot like I was saying to my wife, I'm going to be on. I've got a podcast. I'm going to be late this evening, and I remember driving to work as a consultant. First thing, I can't wait to listen to yours podcast. Or I used to use, I think it was Terry Edwards. I used to listen to as well. Then started listening to Hisham. But yours always stood out. It's it's fantastic to be on here and listen to you guys. You got a little bit 10% there of Forefront is Jules, I reckon.
Good on you, Rob. Well, look, really appreciate it. It was great having you on the mastermind, and wish you all the best for the future.
Yeah, no, thanks. Brilliant. Thanks, mate.